Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah channel. This is the live question and answer session Thursday evening. I'm here every week. Every once in a while, I might skip a week. But for the most part, probably 40 to 50 weeks a year. It's an opportunity. You're welcome to ask any kind of questions. It's just an open forum. Just type them in the box. I'll do my very best. If you want to talk about the state of Utah, the real estate industry, maybe even things in the United States. Sometimes I get people joining me from around the world. So especially if you're like joining from around the world and you've got questions on like, how do I obtain a driver's license, or stuff that, items that you might think is a stupid question, but it's not, because, it's new to you, where some of the people that I work with, they're moving from state to state and everything is, pretty much similar from state to state. We do things in a similar manner. We may call different items, different offices or something a little bit different. But for the most part, we operate from state to state about the same. Okay. Hello, California Jones. I assume that you live in the state of California. It's a state of Utah good for the trucking industry? Well, I would say yes. And the reason I say yes, I don't know a lot about the trucking industry, but let me put out there what I know, what I've heard about the trucking industry in California. For one, I've heard that they have some laws that the trucks have to be newer than a certain age, like 5 years, nothing older than maybe 5 years old, 8 years old, etc. Maybe that law did not get passed. I could be wrong. Somebody I was talking to, actually a good friend of mine that moved out here from San Diego, he's in the monster truck business. And that's one of the reasons he said that they were trying to pass legislation that if his rig was over a certain age, it would not be allowed on the roads in California. So I'm not too sure if that got passed, but I think the trucking industry in Utah is probably a good business. It's, and this is my thinking. I think we're geographically located at where, from here, you can get to a lot of areas real quick, down to Vegas, Phoenix, up to the Northwest, into areas like Texas, the Midwest, even areas up to like Chicago, up into Canada. I sold somebody a home that lives about an hour away from me, and he is a truck driver, works for an independent company, I believe, and it's a tanker truck. And he actually goes all the way up into Canada for some of his jobs that he does, and he's all over the area in a sense. But I think as far as regulations go, I think we're less regulated than what California is in the trucking industry. I've known a couple people, or have heard about a couple people in the trucking industry in Utah, and they seem to do pretty well. We have some homegrown trucking companies that become very large. The Miller Trucking Company, and there's another one. They've got like black cabs. I can't think of the name. So even one time, or in the past, the basketball player Karl Malone was in the trucking industry. He had the nicest trucks you will see. And not too sure what he was hauling at the time. He was a player at the time, and he purchased or started a trucking business. But I just remember the trucks. They had like Western scenes and desert scene, had the trucks decorated, just absolutely beautiful. But probably Google that, Karl Malone Trucking Company. I don't know what happened to the company. I don't know if he sold to somebody else. Nowadays, he's still in Utah. He's still in business in Utah. I don't think he's in the trucking industry. I'm not too sure about that. But he got into the car dealership business. Larry Miller, who was the owner of the Utah Jazz, put him in with the car industry. So he owns like Honda dealerships, Toyota dealerships, power sport dealerships. He's buying a lot of power sport dealerships lately. So, yeah. In northern Utah, good place for someone who's in the field of logistics. Well, I would say the military base, 100%. So whether it's with a government job, like a civilian job working for the government, I believe they call them GS workers, or with a defense contractor. We have a bundle of defense contractors. I mean, I can name some of the big boys that I see, the Northrop Grumman's, the Lockheed Martin, BAE Systems, but there's also a lot of smaller companies too. And that's all located around the base, that whole area. So that would be my thinking. Is it a trucker-friendly state? California sucks. I believe it is. I have heard no negativity with the trucking industry in Utah. And I guess it depends on what you do. I've hired some people to do construction for me from time to time. There's a lot of people who own just like a dump truck. They'll haul gravel, make a living out of it, haul road base, asphalt. There's quite a few people that do that. And we have a lot of construction that goes on. I see quite a few independent guys that haul variety of freight. You'll see like armored cars. We have an armored car plant here in Utah, armored cars. You'll see, I've seen one guy floats around. He hauls like military equipment, like Humvees and tanks and stuff like that. I'm not too sure exactly how he's tied in with that, but I've driven by his location a few times and I've seen a lot of military vehicles on his. So that's a, Utah company. It's about the most I know, I think, on the trucking industry. I hear Parley Canyon is brutal in the winter. Sorry if I butchered the name of the highway. Yeah. They call it Parley's Canyon, an S on the end of that, but it is all in general, all of our canyon roads during the winter months are treacherous. And it's a matter of timing. And that's how I do it. So I've traveled those canyons during the winter months and become an expert. So I was doing a build in Park City, new home construction build. I was not the contractor or anything like that. I was actually hired as what I call a babysitter. The family who was building the home wanted someone to oversee the project and make sure things were being done right. The right products were being used. We were getting the right amount of nails in the roof shingles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So very nice lady who I was working for. And I could tell you many stories, but she had this dream home, how she wanted it. And she wanted to make sure that the colors that she picked out, the lighting that she picked out, everything was to her specifications. So I got referred to her by somebody else because of my construction background. So I used to drive up there once or twice a week to see how the project was and basically babysit. But what I find is on any of the canyons, to use the online services, the online cameras to know what the road conditions are. So you can go to UDOT traffic cameras and you can pull up cameras throughout the whole state. There's cameras just about everywhere. And there's an app on your phone too. You can put it on your phone. But So I would look at the road conditions and I would wait. So if the snow fell right now, tonight, middle of the night, and I had to go up tomorrow morning, I would get on the cameras to see what the road conditions were. Have the plows been out? Are we expecting more snowfall in the AM, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock? If so, then I won't go. I'll wait till the afternoon and I'll look to make sure the road is clear so I can go up and back on fairly dry roads. So if you can time it out and manage it that way, I think it can be navigated very easily. So with the technology we have, you can pull the cameras up and you can see what's on the roads. So, but in general, the snow plows know that they hit the major roads first. So your I-15, your interstates, and then the canyon roads are on the top of their list. They understand there's a lot of people come to the state to go skiing and have to drive the canyons to get to the ski resorts. So they do a really fantastic job. It's tough sometimes because there's times when it'll snow the whole morning. You know, they plow all the way up and plow coming down, and by the time they're coming down, the other side is full of snow again. So it's a tough job. But if you can look at the cameras and plan your timing around it, I think is the best way to do it. When looking for a 5-bedroom home in Logan, how young a house should I be looking for? I don't want any surprises, you know. I know what you're referring to. And there's two trains of thought. There's a lot of people that feel like the new construction that we've had over the last 10 to 20 years, the quality is nowhere near the quality that was built 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, a variety of things between different materials, et cetera, quality of labor. One of the things that is a pet peeve of mine with the modern construction that we have going on in Utah and we've had going on for a long time now. There's this push to get it done faster. And to me, when you do something faster, you're taking shortcuts somewhere. And that can lead to problems. So, but there's such a demand for housing that they're literally selling the raw piece of land, and, you know, people want to move in tomorrow. Well, they're trying, you know, they're sometimes building that home too quickly and things get missed possibly. So, as far as, I mean, it's hard to say a particular like year, but what I would recommend is a good home inspector. So go through the heat and the AC, the roof, you name it. Whether the home is 2 years old, 1 year old, 20 years old, 100 years old, home inspection. So, some of the things that I do on a personal level sometimes, because home inspections are expensive. You're $400 to $500. So every home you look at, you spend $400 to $500, and it adds up. So you try to take the trained eye, and I like to point out the negatives in a home that I notice. So when I see something that doesn't look right, or possibly see some mold or whatever it is, I usually try to point it out so that somebody can make a decision. Do they want to get a home inspection with what they know now to dig in even further? So, and sometimes that has helped people. And I tell the story, and this happened the other year, and we were looking at it. I was so busy during COVID. I was looking at a house, and there must have been 5 other agents there and probably 20 people around the house at the time. It was on a Saturday. And I'm looking at the back deck, and the back deck is leaning. And I heard the agent, another agent, tell somebody, their client, oh, all you got to do is straighten it up, screw it to the brick. And I'm telling my clients, no, the house is sinking. Look at the brick. You can see the cracks in the brick where the house is literally dropped off. That's why the deck is leaning. You can screw it straight, but you have a house that is leaning. So I don't know. Everybody's opinion, you know. So home inspection. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate all the wisdom. You're welcome anytime. Oh, there's no goofy question, by the way. The only goofy one is the one that you don't ask. So by all means, don't hesitate if I can come up with an answer for you. Spanish Fork, yep, great place. South end of the valley. At Alvin Yin Yin. Okay, yes, quite pleasant. I used to live in Orem. Everything great. And outdoorsy was close. Timpanogos Cave, awesome. Yep. Sure is. Yep, growing area. The whole state's a growing area. So, I mean, we have growth everywhere. Everywhere. Growth. And it will be continuing, according to the experts. Our population is supposed to continue. So, my thing for today, too, was I appreciate all the questions. I didn't talk about this. The state of Utah brought out a new home buyer assistance program, and they will give up to $20,000 for people to purchase a home. Well, I didn't promote it for the main reason. I wanted to find out some more information, let the program roll out, and find out, is it a good program or not? And somebody else did an article, and it turns out that the program is not as wonderful as it's led on to be. And to me, this was kind of a political, all the news stations, affordability problems, state of Utah is going to help people out, et cetera, et cetera. We got $20,000 for new purchases, et cetera, et cetera. And it hit all the news stations, big blip. Well, the report, it's not quite as rosy. They will provide, the Utah Housing Corporation will provide up to $20,000 to buyers to help with down payments, closing costs, buying down interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. Great. Sounds great. Okay. But all the fine print, the home must be newly constructed, never lived in, and must be priced under $450,000 or less. Where do you buy a home for $450,000? That's brand new construction. The average price in Salt Lake County is, $550,000 to $600,000, average home price. The other counties, Utah County, Davis County, Weber County, very similar. Give or take $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 price. $450,000? Whew, that's a stretch. Okay. You have to live in Utah for 12 months. So that's another negative, I guess. You have to be under the area's median income. Okay. So then you have to have almost no debt. So tell me, who lives under the average median income with no debt? So people have car loans. People, this is America. It's not, people have loans of variety for furniture, et cetera, et cetera. So you almost have to have no debt, and you're not going to qualify because your income is so low. That was the other thing. And that's a good point, because if your income's so low, you can't qualify for a home loan in some cases, and to even take advantage of this money. So the article continued to say that the amount of people who qualify is just very, very few. And I would agree with them. to meet the standards, it's tough. It's really, really tough. So um, this was, like I say, to me, it was a political thing. The money was earmarked during earlier in the year. Politicians wanted to help out for affordability, the difficulties of purchasing a home, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess it's a good start. That's all I can say. It's a good start. But the program, in my opinion, it just doesn't go far enough. It just doesn't help with what's going on. So, I mean, I personally would like to see, I would like to see something that helps people with lower interest rates. And that's my personal belief. Maybe 3% the first 2 years, 3.5% the following year, 3.75. So you get up to what your mortgage rate is today. Say it's 7%. So you have a 7% loan, but to help you out, because when you first get into a home, there's a lot of expenses. If you're buying new construction, most of the time it comes with no landscaping. So there's a huge expense doing landscaping, even if you do it yourself. Fencing materials, grass, sprinklers, it adds up very, very quick. I would like to see something that maybe if you start out with a 7% loan, maybe the first year it's 3%, 3.5%, 3.75, tell people move along. And if maybe, I don't know, some stipulations, maybe if you sell the home during that time period until it goes back up to the 7%, at closing, you would owe some of that money back possibly, but to keep people in homes longer, to stop maybe like potential, maybe like a house flipper or something that figures, oh, I'll get the 3% loan and then I'm going to sell it in a year's time, reduce my costs on doing a house flip. But anyways, we have to do something. We have to do something as a country for housing, because right now we are becoming a renter nation. That's my opinion. I've seen it happen, and the writing is on the wall over the last 5, 6, 7 years. So, and somebody was asking me the other day about the whole COVID, and where interest rates went. And I said, it's going to be another blip on the calendar like 2008 when we had the housing market crash. The difference will be is if you haven't lived through the 2008 crash, you didn't see everything that went on. If you didn't live through COVID, you didn't see everything that went on. Yes, we had 3% loans, under 3% loans. I heard of people getting 2.7. The thing is, most people, I had more people not purchase a home during that time period than purchased a home because they didn't have the money. In order to get into a home, in most cases, you had to go above asking, $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 above asking. And that meant money out of your pocket. Most people didn't have that kind of money. They didn't have that kind of money to shell out. They could qualify for a $500,000 loan, but they didn't have $50,000 in their pocket extra to go into a bidding war to pay $550,000 for a home. And people will look back and say, oh, it was a great time, 3% loans. Well, it was a great time, yes, for some people, but for a lot of consumers that I worked with, they were out of the housing market. They tried it for 3 or 4 months and lost time and time and time again because they didn't have the cash to go above asking. And so to me, it was a sad time. So, a lot of people wanted to purchase homes, but if you can't come up with extra money, then you're out of the market. Thank you. You're welcome. We owe less than $40,000 on it now. Well, that is a very good position to be in. Yes. I think many people would love to trade places with you. Okay. Any more questions before I call it an evening? I'm going to call it a night, and I'll see everybody next week. Thank you.